But in the way.
Okay, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pushtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Devasisha Shunyavahari Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so we'll continue our roadmap to love, the chanting of the holy name, and we're still on, probably finishing today, part 5. But I thought I was just looking at the slides again, as I usually do. I always change something on the slides each time. But I hope devotees are finding this of interest and some inspiration to the japa when they sit down the next day to pick up their beads to chant the holy name. There's some type of desire to go forward and to become more absorbed in the holy name. That's the goal. That's what we want to do. So let's just have a quick review up to the slide where we left off last week. Okay, and of course, always open to questions or comments. Please feel free to ask or comment. Hare Krishna. So here's the 5 stages of smaran. One of the first one is called smaran. So we're going through that. We've been through that and we're going through that. That happens to be one of the stages of absorption, which is mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction, text 8, I think. And there's a synopsis. And so we spoke about general smaran. Can anyone say anything about the first stage of smaran, some characteristics of it?
Hearing, right?
Hearing. But is it
Shravan? We're talking about smaran here.
Smaran, yeah. Remembrance generally, so we're speaking about smaran through the medium of the holy name. So the ability to meditate upon the holy name. So the first stage, what's the first stage characterized? What's generally happening in the first stage?
We're struggling to chant and remember.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you, Margaret. You're struggling to chant and remember. You know, sometimes you may be successful for a few seconds, then all of a sudden, sometimes you are distracted again. Yeah, but we keep trying. This is the idea. Trying to best of our ability. And then we can come with sincere effort that at least the effort should be, we should be sincere as that we want to meditate upon Krishna's name with we want to meditate on Krishna's name for a long time, not just a few seconds, then their mind goes here and the mind goes there. We want to be absorbed at least for 16 rounds. Yeah, this is our goal. This is one of the steps that we want to achieve. So after the first stage, dharana, so dri means the root here is dri. That means to hold. So at this stage, one can hold the holy name in the forefront of one's mind while one is chanting. Yeah. So this is the next stage that we should be on the lookout for, that we want to get to, where we can hold the sound of the holy name, or maybe more, but for now, the sound of the holy name in the forefront of one's mind. Yeah. And so I'm just doing a little overview. Okay. So and this awakens when one has the ability to do this, one will actually begin to taste the nectar of the holy name. And this is illustrated in Nectar of Instruction here. Holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet, like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice. Is there someone trying to get in? Yes, God Gita. Of a vidya cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by carefully. So we're teaching, or this presentation is how to chant carefully. Yeah, very important word, carefully. That simply by chanting carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within the tongue, and these disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Okay, so the nectar instruction after text 7, it gives other accomplishments that come after that. So there is some taste there. So at this stage, the taste one is getting is much better than the taste of watching Netflix. Is that, did I pronounce that right? It's much tastier than anything that can be found in the material world. This sweet taste of the holy name. It invigorates the soul. So this comes from being able to concentrate on the holy name. Yeah. And then it goes going a bit deeper when one comes more proficient. This remembrance expands in its depth. The remembrance goes deeper. This is and with more focus. So that's something that we want to improve, or that's something hopefully we might experience in our profession, you could say that, of chanting the holy name. So after 5 years, 10 years, and we mentioned this before, 15 years, we want to, hopefully we can go deeper and have more focus. Yeah. So this is jhana, going much more deeper and more focus. Yeah. And this is at this stage, one actually has perception. It's not just theoretical, that Krishna and his holy name are non-different from each other. Yeah. So it's quite an amazing experience to have. Yeah, that Krishna is personally present in his name, and the name is Krishna himself. Yeah. So that means Krishna, his form, qualities, and pastimes. Yeah. Okay. So again, just this going over. And I think we got here last week. Yeah. I think these are the lotus feet of Radhe Shyam in Hungary. I think. Okay. So so these are some of the symptoms that, the world is full of anxiety, the world is full of dualities. It's too hot, it's too cold, etc. Happiness and distress. We all know it well. But this meditation on Krishna in the form of his holy name, we can rise above all these dualities. Yeah. And in comparison to what we are experiencing, everything is insignificant. Yeah. Relatively. Yeah. We can rise above the dualities. Yeah. So in other words, once we're absorbed, once we can absorb ourselves in the holy name at this level, one is free from mental worldly troubles. Anyone have any mental worldly troubles swimming
No.
around in their mind?
We live in a perfect world.
Yeah, there's so many issues going on, isn't there? So many different
Yeah, I was just going to say, like the news, if you didn't watch the news, I mean, sometimes you feel like you need to know what's going on. But as soon as you watch it, you think, oh, why did I do that? My head is completely messed up now.
I tell you what you should do. You should make a pact with a devotee friend and try going for 1 week, 2 weeks without watching the news. Just try it as an experiment. Yeah.
I don't. I think sometimes I need to know, but I don't. Like the TV hasn't even set up. The control is got no batteries. I don't know where Gaurav put it. So,
some of you might be well practiced already in not being tuned into the news, but some not. But especially if you're chanting japa and thoughts of news disturb your japa, then you can probably ascertain that you're becoming too distracted and you need to make some, and you need to do something. Like if you're chanting japa and you're thinking of Trump, then you're absorbing too much of the material energy. So what can help is you make a pact with someone and say, together, let's not watch the news for 1 week, 2 weeks. It's quite good, actually. It's quite good. It feels, if you can actually do that, you can feel like you're living in a quiet little village in the Scottish mountains. Yeah. Where you don't hear about anything in the world. So that's some advice, Mother, Lavanga, if you're having issues with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Make the pact.
I have been trying to do that, but when I'm on YouTube, just some headlines grab your attention and you think, oh, what's that? And then before you know it, you're in Maya.
Yeah, so you can try, can print out an A4 sign on your wall. No news, no YouTube scrolling. So like every time you come every time you come into your place, your room, the first thing you see is no news, no YouTube scrolling.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that like for the rest of the day and at least tomorrow. And
yeah, try it.
I like that. At least I'll try and do it.
Yeah.
No, I will.
Because these things are a distraction, and we can just perhaps fast forward. I mean, will these things be relevant when we're in the process of leaving this world?
Yeah, that's what I think. They're not, That's what I say to myself. This is just all temporary things. It has no meaning at all, really.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow, next week, it'll be something else.
That's it. This is the dualities of the world,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was listening to a lecture from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, of course, in a few years ago, it was newspapers. There was no such thing as internet. It was newspapers. So now you can say the equivalent is online news. So we're addicted to them. Prabhupada compared it to chewing the chewed.
But it's difficult because the newspaper is separate. Like you're already on the computer, you're looking at some YouTube videos and other things come up.
Yeah.
And you don't even want them there.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's a newspaper. You really have to make an effort to go and do that, buy a newspaper.
But what I'm saying is that it's transformed now. Now the same issue is there, but it's just on your computer. Like you're reading the newspaper on the computer. You're becoming absorbed in the material world. Now, and also don't worry, if anything really serious happens, I'm sure you're going to find out about it. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, so
like say if you I don't know, if you watch something, I don't know, YouTube or whatever, then when you finish watching it, wouldn't you get, oh, what a waste of my time, and I could have done this, I could have done. So would that not make you the next day, right, I'm not going to read this or watch this or whatever?
Sometimes habits are not so easy to break, so you have to make specific efforts. You have to do something. You have to change your program. You have to do something in order to create new break habits. Sorry, someone said, Jambavati?
Yeah, something.
Please.
Yeah, you know what it is? Because this is our unsatisfied desires. Unless we have satisfied them, we lose taste. Because if we have taste for that, it's we're not going to win. Because it will be suppressed urges, it suppressed our desires, it suppressed our need. Because we don't have need for alcohol, for smoke, for meat. Yeah, why? Because we know the taste. We don't need it anymore. We had enough, so we don't have attraction for that. We don't need it. So the same for our information or something. It means we're unsatisfied and we need something else. So we should engage ourselves in that activity which compensates that need for watching films or movies. I would love to watch any film, but I can't watch it because I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
So this is what it is. And when we understand that all that fake news, this is fake. Everything is fake. And the same like drinking alcohol or smoking or something is the same equivalent. It's false. So when we understand it, and we don't have need it because we have much tastier choice. Sorry. So we lose it. I would love. I'm surprised how devotees are watching. But I don't believe it, and it's waste of time for me because I don't know. I lost it. I lost it. So
So
I love doing other things which give me more satisfaction
yeah.
instead of doing something, or even if interview on YouTube on everything. Yeah, I watch sometimes reels or something short, which can benefit for my devotional service, for everyday practice or something like that. Yeah, that's okay. But to believe somebody's story, fake story, better to create yourself. Sit and create yourself stories, so you'll satisfy fully yourself. Create stories, and you can post on YouTube, on Instagram, and you'll get money even for that. This is the best thing is.
Yeah, and who's to know, as Mother Jumbo
I was thinking,
is what you're being told is actually real anyway. Is it? You go
well,
on.
sorry. Well, I was thinking, you said about watching films or whatever. I look at it this way, that these characters, I'm showing a film, acting in the film, they get paid so much for me to just sit there and watch them doing whatever they're doing, Why do I want to waste my money or my time on somebody who's getting paid so much,
Yeah, so
I turn it down to that kind of thing,
yeah, so we want to kind of watch, it was so we want, yeah, I mean it's easily done to get distracted by this material world. That's what the material world is meant for. It's actually meant to distract us from the goal of life. So sometimes it helps to acknowledge the distraction, as Mother Lubanga and others were acknowledging the distraction. But it's good to make efforts to try and to try and be more absorbed in Krishna, as one could say. So yeah, so one of right. So yeah, so worldly troubles, that was the point that brought up this conversation. It's a release from worldly troubles swimming through our mind. This comes from being absorbed in the holy name. Yeah. And at this stage again of dharana, it's like I think I mentioned this last week. It's like lifting the handbrake off a car when you're trying to drive it. Yeah. When the actual taste is there, chanting becomes very much more attractive. Yeah. And yes, why is this slide here? Okay. Check my notes. Okay. Yeah, as jhana matures, as we've been explaining. Yeah, that point here, yeah, a different point has been brought up here. Now, as the devotee becomes absorbed, as their meditation matures, that sangha, that pure association with Krishna, or at least to some degree pure, it will manifest in a devotee's external conduct. So we're going to look at that. Yeah. Yeah. And so here it's mentioned, let me read this here. Thus, by pure consciousness due to constant devotional remembrance, we read this last week, isn't it? They attain the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by Narayan, Lord Krishna. So this is speaking about the Pandavas who returned back to Godhead in their self-same bodies. So they became completely spiritualized by their sangha with Krishna, So here, and Lord Chaitanya, he elaborates on this more in his conversation with Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy is glorifying Lord Chaitanya as being Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya, in his humility, is saying, yes, you see like that because you're a devotee. So therefore, you see Krishna everywhere. You know, okay, you're saying I'm Krishna, but that's natural because you see Krishna everywhere. Yeah. So seeing Krishna everywhere means that a devotee doesn't mean he sees exactly four-armed Shama Sundara instead of a lamppost or instead of a car. It means everything reminds him or her of Krishna. So this is one of the results of being absorbed in Krishna's name, is that you begin to be absorbed not just during your japa, but your memory, or throughout the day. You will be absorbed, and the world will remind you of your worshipful Lord. Yeah. So Lord Chaitanya says this is vision of a Mahabhagava, a great devotee. One of the symptoms of a great devotee happens to be this as well. Okay, the advanced devotee certainly sees everything mobile or immobile. So he sees these things, but he does not exactly see their forms. Everywhere he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. So again, this means that one is infused with a remembrance, a smarana of Krishna. Yeah. So this means that one's meditation, it continues other times other than when one is doing one's bhajan. Just like Srila Prabhupada, in his morning walks, we've mentioned this before, and throughout the whole day, he is absorbed in bhajan. He is absorbed in remembrance of Krishna. Yeah. He's not just remembering Krishna when he chants japa. Then the rest of the day he's distracted by the news or by the world. No, it's as a consequence of absorption in that japa. Yeah. And we've heard of these before as well. Sometimes Uddhava, isn't it, when he heard this described, when he sees, this is in Nectar Devotion, I think, when he sees a cloud, it reminds him of Krishna's bodily complexion. Yeah. Or devotee may see a river, and also Lord Chaitanya, you can see this in his pastimes. He sees a dune of sand, Yavata, what's it called? A Pavata Pavaka, something like that. And it reminds him of Govardhan. Yeah. So another way, so Krishna's appearance within the heart is perceived externally in a devotee's features as well. You follow that? Let's have a look. Who's falling asleep here? If you do, Hare Krishna. Sorry?
Say that again, that last bit.
Yeah.
Devotees.
In one's physical appearance. Yeah, I had to explain. Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, I see that. I see when persons first come to Krishna consciousness, and then they start following regulative principles and they start chanting the holy name. Even their features of their face change.
Oh, okay.
Becomes much more, and that's just in the beginning stages of bhakti. One is associating with Vaishnavas, one's maybe rising early and engaging in the activities of Shravanam Kirtanam. One's features will change. I don't know, I guess it's coming to mind now. It's a bit personal, but years ago when my mother was still alive and she came to see me at the temple, and she was looking at me really intently. She's looking at my hands and everything. She's saying, what's happened to you? What's happened? You're changed. My body, I don't know. Somehow she would see my body was changing. My skin looked more healthy, and everything was changing about me. And she was a bit relieved, because I looked more healthy. That was many years ago. So the example was given of Kardama Muni. So as you know, he was engaged in severe austerity. Severe austerities, this means not eating for like weeks, just living off air or very minimal foods, Severe austerities he was doing, sometimes these are, living in frigid conditions and putting the body through different tapassaries, That was his particular sadhana as well as meditation. But he appeared healthy and effulgent. Yeah. Healthy and effulgent because he was absorbed in meditation upon Krishna. So what's being described that Krishna's presence radiates through a devotee's appearance and demeanor. Now, sometimes we may not notice it, but sometimes non-devotees notice it. Even subtly, there's something different about these people. Yeah, there's something, you could say effulgent, or something just strikes me as being really attracted by these people. Sometimes, people perceive devotees, and Prabhupada mentioned, I was reading today, that when devotees chant the holy name and they're effulgent through the practice of Krishna consciousness, and they chant the holy name, then everyone becomes attracted, rather than professional musicians. Just by following Krishna consciousness and chanting the holy name, one becomes attractive. Yeah. So externally in the devotees' features, in their demeanor, and also their qualities as well. Because who you associate with, that's something you should keep in mind as well. If you're watching these gross materialistic people, on the news or whatever it may be, then you're associating with them. So we want to associate with Narottam Das Thakur, we want to associate with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna through the holy name. And actually then the qualities of Krishna on which he or she meditates upon the qualities of Krishna, given in Nectar of Devotion, for example. So one of the attributes of Krishna, he's very pleasing. His speech is very pleasing. He can speak in such a pleasing way, as he did when he was trying to convince Maharaj Nanda to give up the worship of Indra. He spoke in such a charming, beguiling way that eventually Nanda agreed. Krishna is such a sweet speaker. Yeah. So this is illustrated here when Prahlad Maharaj, although he was, as we know, he was harassed in so many ways and persecuted by his father. But because he was so absorbed in Krishna, he always remained gracious. And even he said to his father, Asurya Vaya, oh my dear, best of the dynasty of the demons. So Prabhupada often, is that there's some lectures where Prabhupada often emphasizes this. Prahlad. Why? Because he was absorbed in Krishna. So he was gracious. He was pleasing. Yeah. Even to his very vicious, very demented father. It's not as if Prahlad lost it. So, why are you doing this to me again? I haven't done anything. No, he was, oh my father, best of demons, this is what I have learned today. Shravanam Kedaram Vishnu Shmara Parasevanam Arjanam Vandanam Dasyam. My dear father. Why? Because he was associating with Krishna. Yeah. And there's another way of perceiving the Lord's qualities in things around one. Yeah. So devotee. So anyway, so now devotee sees Krishna's qualities. Or he sees Krishna manifest in this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Vashraham apsakuntaya prahasmi sasyasuyaha panavasava vedishu shapti ke parashanashu. We're familiar with this verse, yeah. I am the O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water. Yeah. I don't know how many times I drink water and I forget to remember this. I have that trouble.
Yeah.
Now, every time I drink water, I never think of Krishna. Only when I read this sloka, I think, okay, next time I drink water, I'm going to think of Krishna.
Yes, exactly what I think, yes.
Yeah. He's the taster. We should meditate as we're drinking water, that really, that taste of water, that pure, unadulterated, that's Krishna. So I am a taste of water. I'm the light of the sun and the moon. Now at the moment, here in the UK, we've got some sun, which is hanging out a bit. And the moon, the syllable harmony of it. I'm the sound in ether, and I'm the ability in man. So that's something which also, yeah, this one's Krishna consciousness is one's appreciating this. One's I'm the ability in man. So anyone who's doing anything of anything worthwhile from the material perspective, even like a great artist, a great dancer, a great magician, a great actor, a great singer, the ability is given by Krishna. Yeah. So that just, yeah. Okay. So in other words, there's a spiritualization that takes place that comes with being absorbed in the holy name of Krishna. Yeah. So in other words, one's meditation is not just part of life. This remembrance of Krishna is not just part of life. It becomes one's life. What's that question? Forget it now. Is Krishna part of? Anyway, forget it now. But so it is our life. So I think I mentioned this last week as well. So our very life is that time when we sit down and chant our japa, and remembrance of Krishna and absorption in Krishna. That is actually our life. So it's not just part of our life. It is our life, our smarana on Krishna. Either hearing Bhagavatam, serving Krishna, chanting the holy name. Yeah. Yeah, and just here also, now going a bit further, Krishna's holy name is like a touchstone, as we've touched on, it's like touchstone. It can reveal every pastime of the Lord. Yeah, every pastime of the Lord. Yeah. Without any independent of any effort. So that's one particular method or ways you just meditate upon the holy name, and the holy name being non-different from Krishna. One then enters into deep remembrance of Krishna's pastimes. It can manifest any pastimes. So this we can read about. We hear about this in the example of the Sat Goswamis, isn't it? Was it Rupa Goswami was in deep meditation, or was it Sanatana Goswami? And he saw this disabled devotee walk past, and he was smiling at a pastime with Radha and Krishna. And I think, was it Rupa or Sanatan?
There's Rupa Goswami, I think.
Yeah, Rupa Goswami.
Yeah.
And so this devotee who was disabled saw him smiling and took issue and felt offended. But the point I'm making out, the main point here is that he was absorbed in Leela Smaran. I think it's where Krishna held down the branch, Radharani grabbed the flower, they let the branch go, and she's dangling. Don't describe it like that, yeah. So this is so the Goswamis, they're very advanced, and so they're showing us what is advanced chanting. So they're absorbed in Krishna's Leela, yeah. So this is what we aspire for, yeah. Now, but having said that, I think we have mentioned this before as well, or perhaps in another class I was mentioning this, that we won't remember the pastimes unless we read them. Yeah. So that's the deal, so to speak. That's the laws, Shravanam Kirtanam. Yeah. So these laws dictate that you must hear about Krishna's name, form, qualities before you may access them in your bhajan. Yeah. So if you're attracted to meditating upon Krishna's qualities, or then you're going to go to nectar devotion, and you're going to read Krishna's qualities, not just once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. You want to memorize them qualities. So it's not so easy. There's 64 there, but you want to load up your mind, so to speak, with so many pastimes of Krishna. And then when you're chanting japa, you may be blessed that those pastimes will come from the core of your subtle body that you remembered and into your consciousness. The same way as if we're absorbed in the material world and we're sitting there and chanting japa, then the events of the world just kind of, without any effort, they float into our consciousness because we've been absorbed in that. Yeah. So in the same way, if we absorb ourselves in pastimes about Krishna, we should have, there's a 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, for example. There's many other books. Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, we shouldn't underestimate the importance of hearing and reading, especially Srila Prabhupada's books. Yeah. Especially we have the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Otherwise, if you do not read, how will you remember? Yeah. What will you remember? Yeah. So we shouldn't have unrealistic expectations that without reading Krishna's pastimes, they're all going to just manifest from the spiritual world into our mind during smaran. No, we want to read it, the qualities, and as we mentioned last week, we mentioned about these two types of meditation. Isn't it? Anyone remember the names of that? Two types of meditation for...
One was Swasiki.
Yeah, Swarasiki, well done, Maharaj Kishore. And that is remembrance of
Short.
unfolding pastimes, like Astakaliya Lila Smaran. You're remembering like an unfolding of pastimes. Yeah. For instance, Radharani on the way to go and cook for Krishna. Yeah. She has Rati Manjari behind, Rupa and Lalita beside, and she's going through all different emotions as she's getting closer to Nandagram, you know. So, and then when she arrives in Nandagram, then she's greeted by her mother Yasoda, who embraces Radharani, and etc. So that's, and then the other one is mantra upasana, a particular photo or a particular description of Krishna. Yeah. So that's what Vaishnavas do in order to enhance their bhajan, their smaran. Yeah. Now, yeah. Now, some devotees may not have an affinity for hearing Krishna's pastimes. Sometimes they may just be otherwise absorbed, you know. But if they continue to concentrate on the holy name, it will have a purifying effect, and they will get a taste for the holy name, and from that will come a desire to hear Krishna's pastimes. You understand? Some devotees may not, for one reason or another, may be absorbed in book or their particular services, etc., but they're absorbed in the sound of the holy name. Now that should give them that they will eventually have a great desire to hear about Krishna. Yeah. And then there's another level of devotee. They may be quite mature in more natural attraction, known as spontaneous devotion. So more mature meditation, even, that's a whole discussion. They will meditate upon the resident of Vrindavan who they desire to serve. Yeah, and that's a whole another subject. That's called Raganuga Sadhan. Yeah, advanced. Yeah, that's their meditation. That's who they may read about, and they're attracted in that way. That's more advanced. It's a whole discussion. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. Okay. Yeah, we've covered this. So all this is acceptable to make efforts at meditating on individual. Is it acceptable to make an effort? We're just mentioning this again. Is accepted to make an effort, from our side, to meditate on individual or sequential pastimes, mantra upasana or shradasiki. Yeah. You can do, if you're so inclined, you can do, but it shouldn't interfere with hearing the holy name. Yeah. Hearing the holy name is not only a priority, that's the main priority, to hear the holy name. Like one devotee, I was in Radhadesh, one devotee asked a question in class, like he had a nice experience. He was a younger devotee, I think he was a younger devotee. He had a nice experience where he was meditating on Krishna's pastimes for one japa, and it was a really nice experience. But then he said, but since then, but now I try to do the same thing, and because we're not qualified, so but that's the main. So the priority is to hear the holy name. Yeah, that's the mean. I mean, that's the priority. Yeah, because that's going to nourish the appearance of Krishna's form, qualities, and pastimes. If you're so good as your meditation, you're kind of artificially going ahead of yourself, and you're meditating on, okay, now Krishna's lifted Govardhan Hill, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he may not be, but then you're trying to Hare Krishna, 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 Ram, Ram, Ram. No, because these pastimes manifest from correct pronunciation of all the syllables of the holy name. They are non-different. So that's the priority, rather than. So, yes. So basically, there's no meaning of Nam Bhajan if you're not attentive to the holy name. It doesn't, it's just there is no meaning actually, because it all manifests from the holy name. So you can try when you chant the holy name, but really it's going to come as a natural manifestation. And we mentioned this a few times, isn't it? So, yeah. Yes. Yeah. So in other words, it becomes like it kind of all unifies. Yeah. So meditate on the pastimes, it creates a further bondage to the holy name, because it is the holy name. You become more attracted, you become more attentive to the holy name, because that pastime and quality is manifesting from the holy name. It is not separate. You follow? Yeah. So it becomes each nourish each other. Yeah. Now, stepping a little bit further ahead. Okay, we're going a little bit further ahead. Now, as these meditation, let's say one's meditating on Krishna's pastimes, it's become quite mature for advanced devotees. Then one's going to get a glimmer of what's known as devotional mellow in the heart. So that devotional mellow is a word for one's actual attraction, in what specific way you're attracted to Krishna. Yeah, there's a whole discussion. We won't get into all the details. Yeah. Now, so it makes itself ever so slightly. Yeah, it's like teasing. You're getting it's very subtle. One is feeling attraction to Krishna or one of Krishna's associates in a certain type of mood. Yeah. So this brings us to the stage of a Shakti. We have so let's go through it. What's the first stage?
Faith.
Shraddha, next stage.
Association.
Sadhu Sangha, next stage.
I'll let somebody else say.
Bhajan Kriya.
Bhajan Kriya, next stage. Yes, correct.
Ruchi.
Anartha Nivritti.
Anartha
Anartha
Nivritti.
Nivritti. Then comes Nishta. Then after Nishta comes
Ruchi.
Ruchi. Then after Ruchi comes the Shakti. Yeah, Shakti. And then Shakti, Bhava, and then Prema. Yeah. So this is where one cannot help oneself. One is automatically one's pure heart. One's kind of heart goes and one's mind follows behind it, so to speak. Is that make sense? Your heart becomes attracted and the rest of the self just follows behind that attraction. That's called a Shakti. Yeah. So this is the next, this brings us into the next level of this, which is anusmrti and samadhi. Okay. This is the next stage, anusmrti. Okay. Wow, we've got a long way to go, isn't it? Right, it should be
Can't even
inspiring.
think about it.
Yeah, hopefully when we sit down to chant japa, we can remember these achievements and we want and we can desire and we can. I'm sure some of you've been chanting many years, you've had some wonderful experiences in this regard. But this is anusmrti, the next stage that comes before samadhi, also known as dhruvan smriti. Okay, I'll just read this here. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing, to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who resides in everyone's heart. Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. So it acts like you hear one little thing and your mind just, one flows there. And one can naturally, one's thoughts, one's emotions just flows like an unbroken stream of honey. Yeah. So this is going deep in meditation, deep in meditation. So there's an ecstasy that comes from this. So it becomes very addictive. It's like a druggie, druggie. We've got plenty of druggies here in London. Yeah. So become very addicted. So that becomes a continuous flow. That's known as anusmrti. So I mentioned acharyas describe it like honey. Yeah. Uncontrollable torrent that empties into Krishna's pastimes. Yeah. Sounds attractive, doesn't it? Wow, that would be great. Yeah. So, yes. Now, Bhagavatam mentions that this continuous remembrance as specific is the symptoms, obviously pure devotion. That means it's free of any personal motivation. Yeah. At this stage, one is never hampered. There is nothing that can get in the way of this flow. As you can imagine, it's just so attractive. One is so, the attraction takes over one. Do you remember these that wonderful description of the holy name by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that we read?
Yeah.
How it becomes, the holy name takes him and
That's the word.
overwhelms him, makes him a servant, makes him a slave. It bewilders him and gives him his own form. It's like he becomes captured by this. So this is anusmrti, dhruvan smriti. Yeah. So there's nothing at this stage as one wouldn't exchange this devotional wealth for anything in the three worlds. There isn't anything one can possibly have that compares to this experience. Even in the heavenly planets, it doesn't exist. So nothing, so no exchange for devotional
I
wealth.
don't think you even would think about it.
No, it wouldn't even come into
You
your.
wouldn't even, because you've so gone past it that you
No.
wouldn't even think about.
Yeah. And that's just another point. I came across this interesting quote. Sometimes there's a discussion on, you go back to the spiritual world, can you fall down again and all of that? We won't go right into it. But they're so absorbed in Krishna that they don't even know the material world exists, let alone even meditating upon it. They're so absorbed, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the residents in Vrindavan, they're not even aware that the spiritual realm exists, let alone get tempted by it. Anyway, it's a whole discussion. We won't go there. Yeah. Now, yeah, because of his deep absorption, now one's absorbed in Krishna's internal potency. Yeah, one stepped over the Viraj river and entered through meditation. You remember that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhakti Lada Bija? This is description of the Bhakti Lada Bija, that you actually take shelter of Krishna. It happens, this it happens within the dharma of chanting the holy name. This bhakti ladha bija grows through your japa. Yeah. So one is it's internal potency. Yeah. Yeah. So I mentioned this. One's indifferent to material acquisition. Yeah, it's like Prabhupada, he was completely indifferent to material wealth, except for the service of Krishna. Completely indifferent. Totally. Do you remember that pastime where Prabhupada gets gifted a nice watch? No, he gets what says he gets he gets gifted a watch. So he takes his watch off, he puts on this new watch. It's quite expensive. But then a couple of weeks later, just paraphrasing the story. No, yeah, he gets gifted a Rolex watch. One of the most expensive watches you can get. So Prabhupada looks at it, takes his watch off, gives it to someone, puts the Rolex watch on. Then Hari Soy, I think, or Shrutakirti explains a few weeks later, someone gives Prabhupada another watch, a cheaper watch than the Rolex. Prabhupada takes the Rolex off, gives it to someone else, and puts on this other watch. So completely indifferent for his own personal self, but he would accept, obviously, wealth, etc., for Krishna's service. Okay. So, all right, we've got 5 minutes left. Any questions or comments so far? Okay. Okay, a little discussion here. Let's see how much we get into this. Now, this constant remembrance, anusmrti, dhruvan smriti, this enables one a smooth meditation on Krishna's pastimes. Yeah. Now, so what kind of pastimes is a devotee attracted to? Those to which he is attracted. It will be like yesterday I was speaking with one devotee, and he really likes the second part of the Krishna book. Part 2. He loves reading that rather than part 1. So what kind of pastimes is a devotee attracted to? You will know. Yeah. Those to which you're attracted. Yeah. Does that make sense? You're like hearing about specific pastimes. Yeah. Some you may like all pastimes. There will be some pastimes which you're particularly attracted to. Like say if someone does not have such attachment, someone's a practicing devotee, then you should read the pastimes of Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, study the truths of the pastimes. Yeah. Now, which pastimes are most? Yeah. So let me just follow this train of thought here. Yes. Now, those pastimes which are most varied, which influence remembrance the most, and saints are recommended above others. So, yeah. So let's just, yeah. So which pastimes are the most varied? So there's 2 kinds of pastimes, which you read about in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's those when Krishna creates. Yeah, he creates these pastimes of creation. Garbhodakshaya, Vishnu, etc. In the 2nd canto, also in other cantos it's described. And also Krishna's pleasure sports, like in Vrindavan. Now, hearing and chanting about Krishna's creation, Garbhodakshaya, Vishnu, Kushoradakshaya, Vishnu, etc., that results in piety and ultimately liberation. But chanting and hearing about Krishna's Leela and pastimes, as found in the 10th canto, this will manifest in affection and love for Krishna. Yeah, not just moksha. Yeah. But that's because these pastimes are more captivating. So in that sense, they're superior, because they're their captivating nature, if you really listen to it carefully. Yeah. So in other words, they attract the heart. Yeah. So which pastimes influence remembrance the most? So Krishna's pleasure sports again. By hearing these pastimes, one is blessed with. It's quite amazing. They're just pastimes where Krishna is lifting Govardhan hill, Krishna is playing with the gopas, or is with the gopis. Just by one is blessed with transcendental knowledge. And from that, one will lose attachment to the material world and its so-called pastimes. Yeah. So again, back to an early discussion. Yeah. So hearing about Krishna's pastimes dissolves the knots which bind us to the modes of material nature. Yeah. And then eventually the senses will lose their grip on the sense objects, and the mind finds much more delight in remembering what is heard about Krishna's pastimes. Yeah. So this way one may remember Krishna's killing demons as well. That goes on in Vraj, playing with his friends. So this way one becomes attached to Krishna. Now, which of the Lord's sports the saints have recommended above others? I'm just reading here some. So some say Krishna's pastimes of Krishna in his incarnations, as described in the Vedic literatures, are best. So we have this Sunday, is it? Appearance of Lord Ramachandra. Yeah, today was Ramachandra. Well, the Lord's devotee Ramanuja, Rahadev, Matsya, Nrsimhadev. Yeah. Now, those Vedics, they're all in the Vedic literatures. Of those, the ones in the Srimad Bhagavatam are considered superior, because the Bhagavatam is the essence of the Vedas, and it's a spotless Purana. Yeah. So among those pastimes in Bhagavatam, Krishna's personal pastimes are superlative, because they can give the topmost perfection, which is Krishna Prema. Yeah. Now also then going further, because Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, or Krishna as Lord Chaitanya, has descended to make known and available the sweetness of Vraj Leela. That was the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one aspect of his mission, to make known the sweetness of Krishna's Vraj Leela. Yeah. So, and then Vaishnavas of the book will say that the chapters spoken about the gopis are still better. Yeah. Why? Because compared to all of these pastimes, manifest the fullness of sweetness. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now, having said that, about what you should meditate upon, it cannot be mandated. Yeah. It cannot be legislated. Oh, you have to meditate upon Raj Leela. It doesn't, not exactly like that. Here, having obtained the mercy of his spiritual master, who reveals to the disciple the injunctions of Vedic scriptures, the devotee should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a particular personal form of the Lord the devotee finds most attractive. Yeah. So some of you may remember Krishna, the son of Mother Yasoda, perhaps as a Gopa, as a beloved of Radha. Yeah. And then we have examples of Anupam and Murari Gupta. They're attracted to the Vaikuntha,
Lord Ram.
Lord Ram or Narayan. Yeah. They're exquisite. They're attractive in their own way. Yeah. So again, it cannot be legislated. Devotees will have their specific attraction, but that attraction would generally be according to what they've heard, generally. Okay. Okay, let's pause there. Okay. There's a couple more slides to go, but it's quite more details to describe. We'll just pick up next week. Let me just look at this here. Okay, let's pick up next week. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope this was
We're
refreshing.
joining tomorrow.
Oh yeah, tomorrow we're gonna revamp our Srimad Bhagavatam Rita reading. So please, you're welcome to join at 6 o'clock. It'd be
Same
nice to
time.
finish that because I think we're on the last part and then we stopped. So that's we do reading together. We'll share the reading and we'll comment like that. Yeah, there won't be any slides. We'll just be reading directly from Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, and I shall find out where we left off back in
No.
November of last year, I think, or October.
Before
Okay.
you went.
So please, if you have the time.
What about the? Sorry, what about the prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam?
What I'm
We used to
planning,
do-
yeah, I mean, I'm planning after that, then we do the prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam because my schedule has changed a little bit where I can only probably do 2 evenings a week with this group here, with ourselves, unfortunately, because I've got other meetings I'm having with other devotees and things like that. So my plan is after Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, we can go straight into the prayers of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that okay with everyone?
What about Bhagavad Gita classes?
And then-
You did that for everyone.
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
London, the temple.
Let's kind of decide let's go through Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, and then we decide where we're going next, either Bhagavad Gita or the prayers of Bhagavatam. Yeah, let's see. Okay.
We are other groups. Are they
One
like
second.
mixed groups or?